Welcome back to Awakened Exchanges. I'm your host, Jay Rich, and this is our second episode of 2021. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll keep doing my best to bring you interesting guests and not to go dark on you by surprise. I'm still working on getting more backup episodes in the can, but things are going well to start the new year so far. Please remember that I do listen to the listeners, and if you have suggestions for topics or guests, please email me from our website or contact me on Twitter at Awaken Exchanges. I hope to bring you a full, diverse, and interesting schedule for 2021, so I hope you keep joining us here for the exchange. I'm releasing this episode on the 19th, one day after we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr., and one day before we usher Trump out of the White House in exchange for the Biden-Harris show. The National Guard is suited up and standing by for what will hopefully be an uneventful day tomorrow. But standing by is also what Trump told the Proud Boys to do. It's been a lot quieter on social media since the president was banned a week and a half ago. Personally, I think that Trump is in a little bit of a crybaby mode, working his way through depression, and still a far ways away from acceptance on his path through grief. Boycotting the inauguration is just... I don't really have words for it. So I personally believe that Transition Day is going to be quieter than the Capitol Riot on the 6th, but the FBI is warning of demonstrations at all 50 state Capitol buildings. It's not a huge jump to think that one of those demonstrations could pop off at a moment's notice, but most people are weary. There were some planned demonstrations this weekend that ended up with zero attendance even. After seeing what happened on the 6th at the Capitol, people seem to mostly want to move forward. That said, I don't think that's going to be an easy transition by any means. Nobody is thrilled about Biden and Harris except for maybe Biden and Harris's teams, and that may even be a little bit of an overstatement. The Democrats do have all three branches of government for the next 2 years, and there's a lot of stuff that they would like to accomplish with that. Will any of it look like change for the good to the masses? I don't know, but I certainly hope that they get their shit together for 2021 and figure out COVID before some mutation gets out of control and we blow this whole thing up. I don't know how I feel about a vaccine myself, but I know it's just necessary at this point. My girlfriend is a healthcare worker, so she's already had the first round. I just hope that it's not all for naught, or that it ends up being some yearly shot for the foreseeable future. Hell, it could be twice yearly, as the UK studies are starting to suggest you only get about 6-month immunity after getting COVID. So let's get back to more MLK and less Inauguration Day. Let's try to remember what we can do to forget these divisions and work towards the benefit of all. MLK had a dream, but that dream didn't end with racial equality. It just started there. He also wanted to eradicate poverty and hunger, first in our country and then all over the world. We have the means, and if only we could exert the will, maybe we could actually be that change. So let's all be that change. And as you're probably tired of hearing my weekly rant, let me give you a little bit of an introduction to Alex Toast Troester. Toast graciously invited me into his home for one of my favorite talks thus far. You may hear the adorable Angel and Rue snoring, breathing heavy, or rustling around now and again, but they were amazing dogs. There might also be some other roommate-associated noises, but I think that I got them mostly minimized. We had a great time, and I think that it shows in our talk. We start by talking about his journey from cannabis advocate to cannabis entrepreneur with his current company, Beehive Extractions. We also get to explore some of his musical side, and if you're smart, you'd be sure to stay through the end so you can hear him play an exclusive song just for you listeners. I'm extremely grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with him, and I look forward to maybe having him back on the podcast before he leaves the Northwest to go be a good son for a little while. Now, before we get to the interview, here's a brief rundown of our sponsors. As always, I want to thank all of you personally for your support. Just listening and sharing this podcast with your friends gives me a reason to keep providing the best content that I can. If you have the means and would like to contribute personally, please take a look at our Patreon page, where you will get access to exclusive content and deals. There are already bonus videos available, and more are on the way. As for our sponsors, Awakened Vapes was the first of the Awakened brands and has been helping you modulate your high with CBD-only, high-terpene vape products since 2019. Look out for our Delta 8 cartridges coming soon. They will be available in 38 states. Of course, then there's Genesis Pharms, who has been making the highest quality medicinal RSO, among many other fantastic products, starting with the medical community back before 2010. And last but not least, the Caramel Corn Company, bringing you caramel corn the way it was meant to be. Now, let's all remember to help support small businesses, and let's bring all of us through this pandemic together. And remember, if you enjoy this podcast, please follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us wherever else you're listening. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I know that every podcast says that, but it's because it really does help spread the word. You can also support us on Patreon or connect with us on the social media of your choice. We are at Awakened Exchanges on Facebook and Instagram and at Awaken Exchanges on Twitter. All right now, stay tuned and thank you for listening to Awakened Exchanges. Genesis Pharms was founded on the belief in cannabis's ability to heal. Genesis Pharms is more than a brand. They're a compassionate community of like-minded folks that generate top-quality cannabis products, made with love and care. Community outreach is always on their mind, and their partnerships with Grow for Vets and Parents for Pot was just the beginning of what they hope to accomplish in the coming years. You can find their products on the best dispensary shelves across the state of Oregon. Their RSO is the most consistent quality in the state. Their tinctures are second to none, and their personal massage oil will have you and your partner coming back for more. Find them on Facebook and Instagram and ask for them in your local dispensary today. Don't forget to listen to Sean's interview right here on Awakened Exchanges. It's episode number 3. The Caramel Corn Company is bringing you caramel corn the way it was meant to be, made with premium ingredients in small, handcrafted batches and completely gluten-free. Their flavors include original, roasted cashew, salted almond, mixed nut, spicy sriracha, white morsel macadamia, peanut butter, butterscotch, and my personal favorites, chocolate drizzle and raspberry caramel apple. I can't say enough about how delicious this caramel corn is. It makes a great gift any time of the year. You can find them for sale in Portland area Market of Choice locations, and hopefully again online soon when they get stocked back up. Please visit www.caramelcorncompany.com for more information today. And remember, buying local supports small businesses and keeps your money building your community. Last but not least, Awakened Vapes has been bringing you some of the highest quality CBD vapes since ringing in the new year of 2019. I became passionate about cannabis after a car wreck left me with major migraines, and no prescribed pills helped alleviate the symptoms. Having only tried cannabis a handful of times in high school and college, it was a doctor's recommendation that led me to give it another try. Only then did I realize that we'd all been at least a little misled about the health benefits of this amazing plant. Despite an unexpected break because of the vape ban and then a global health crisis with COVID, the business is stronger than ever, and we invite you to check out our updated website today. We are still offering our 3 varieties with new and improved terpene formulations for enhanced flavor to go along with the custom blended effect profiles. Check back at www.awakenedvapes.com for any updates, and you can always email us about wholesaling or white labeling opportunities. Welcome to Awakened Exchanges. We're very grateful to have you on the exchange today, Toast. So for those in our audience who are unfamiliar with you, why don't you tell us your name and a little bit about what you do?
My name is Alex Troester. People call me Toast, or Alex Toast. I am currently an extractor at Beehive Extracts, and I make music too.
So how did you first get involved in cannabis?
I had some friends convince me to try smoking it the summer between junior and senior year. I was staunchly against it up until that point in my life. I tried it, and it was very fun and exhilarating. That was my first experience with it myself, but I guess I got into it more with my dad, who had degenerative disc disease. He had a couple surgeries on his back, had some stints with painkillers after his surgeries, and got off of those painkillers with the credit of weed. So he kind of switched from that to weed at one point in my life, and I saw that what it could do for people. So I kind of took on a little bit of an activism role in the Midwest at that point, and
that's
started
very cool.
Yeah.
And where were you at that point?
That was on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So I did activism work kind of more in Wisconsin because I lived by a big city there, but I technically lived across the river in Minnesota. It's like saying you're from Portland, Oregon if you lived in Vancouver or something.
Which I did and have. So.
Yeah, so it's like that. But
so...
And that was also, that was 2008, 2009, probably, in that zone.
And it's still fairly restrictive over there right now, as far as...
right now Minnesota has medical laws, but it's like you have to have a specific couple conditions for it, and there's only two producers in the whole state, and they can't sell flower, only extracts and whatnot, so it's all really expensive products, not very accessible. But you can possess a little bit, for personal amounts, so it's hopeful, and I believe the current government in Minnesota is pondering recreational legalization. That's probably going to be the next one in that little Midwest zone that does. It'll definitely beat Iowa and Wisconsin in that race. But Illinois is right there now, so I mean, it's Minnesota is going to go soon, I think.
Very cool. So, that was 2007-8, you said. Where did you go from there in the cannabis world?
I guess I did. I stayed in my hometown area there for a couple years working at a sandwich shop. I tried to start a little chapter of Americans for Safe Access back then, which is like a medical patient-focused activism group for weed.
Cool.
And I thought it was... actually got advice from a local... the local faculty advisor for the Students for a Sensible Drug Policy chapter at the local university. I met him through the activism world, and he was like, NORML exists, but senators and stuff don't really listen to NORML at this point because they look at them like a bunch of potheads. It's like no disrespect to what they do, because they do a lot, but it's also like they're talking to deaf ears, basically. They've been doing it
since the 70s. They've been, they have been ignored since the 70s. They need somebody else to get the attention.
Right. So I had the advice from the Students for a Sensible Drug Policy advisor to maybe think about, he's like, this group called Americans for Safe Access is, professional seeming. They're kind of new-ish, and they're focused entirely on patients having more access to medicine. So if you wanted to maybe... get that spark going and have that view, you might get a little bit more listening. So I tried to do that. I collected some signatures one summer, and we had some meetings and whatnot, but it ultimately didn't really go anywhere because, I mean, probably for lack of effort, but it also was a small town in Wisconsin. It's not like it was a big city or anything to have lots of people to draw from. So that was for a couple of years. I moved to Colorado in 2011, the end of 2011. The campaign to regulate marijuana like alcohol was the legalization campaign there that was fighting for the recreational bill that ended up passing. So that I ended up getting involved with them. That was the first rec
law, right?
Yeah, that was the first rec law that passed, and then Washington was that year too.
That's right.
But that was 2012 that got voted on. It was fun because the whole year up until the election was we had already gotten enough signatures, so it kind of moved into a promotion of it. So the 2011 was collecting signatures to get it on the bill, and then the last year or whatever was promoting the message to vote for it. Yes, I ended up getting a few different free tickets to Red Rocks shows to get there early and pass out pamphlets for it and stuff. I ended up getting to go to the Beach Boys for free, and that was so awesome. That
is a great show.
Old people were the like old people and middle-aged folks were ones we were supposed to like target because they were like least likely to vote yes already.
Yeah, they're the swing vote, and
yeah,
you know, if they get informed, they can realize that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was just that someone else who was active in the campaign just bought tickets to the show and wanted to go and bring whoever with. So yeah, there were I think 4 of us who went, and there were row 16 seats. It was the first row right behind the soundboard, which I don't know if you know like music sound stuff, that in big studio, like big arenas and stuff like that, they're right by the soundboard is where it sounds the best.
That's why they're set up there.
Well, right. Where they mix it from that point, you know, it's like that's so yeah, it was a great show. I could see the wrinkles on their face and stuff. So
oh man, that's awesome.
Good times back in those days. So I collected signatures on Pearl Street in Boulder for a while. Went out on like the weekends and into like the busy touristy areas or whatever, and found Colorado residents to sign the thing. And then it passed in 2012, and I ended up getting a job at a dispensary that was nearby where I lived, and I had, thankfully, I lived with people who had their medical cards for a couple years prior to that, and I had learned how to grow because of that. So it was really great. I came into this dispensary I was like the young, eager weed guy who had I just helped legalize weed, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. I went in to all the local shops in a purple shirt and tie I didn't smoke weed that morning, and I drank a lot of coffee, so I was like extra strong peppy, and walked into the shop and gave my resumes to all the different local spots. And
for those that don't know Toast, he's already fairly peppy, so some coffee added in there.
Oh man, that was especially in my youth. Man, oh man, yeah, it was fun though. I definitely I made an impression at the shop where I got hired. Apparently, the manager there said that like the way that I came in and was like more competent seeming than the average stoner. I was wearing a tie before in the interview, even just like dropping off a resume. So yeah, I worked at that shop for a little while. It wasn't a very busy shop, so in the off time, I got to like trim weed and gram dabs because in Colorado at the time they had the vertical integration.
Yeah,
it was 70% of what they bought or what they sold at their shops had to come from their own licenses. So every dispensary at that time had their own grows and stuff. So in the downtime between customers and stuff, we would help with the different tasks there.
Gives you a good overview of the industry as well. You kind of get some hands-on experience and everything.
Totally. Yeah, it was great. Plus, like the med card laws coupled with that, like just experience was everywhere if you wanted to get it at that point. So the shop where I was at fired their head grower, and they were like, Toast, can you like do this, do you think? And I was like, whoa, yeah, let's do it. And so I did that for a couple harvests, and then they ended up getting rid of their lead extractor, and we're like, Toast, can you do this? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so then I started extracting they were called venom concentrates, venom wax.
And that was what year?
That was, that would be 2013, I think.
Okay. So about a year in the industry already.
Yeah.
And then pulled into the extraction a little bit. You almost have to be pulled in from the outside.
A little bit, yeah. I actually, thankfully, because of the ambiguity of the laws at that point in Colorado, I was able to learn a little bit at my house with the medical grows that I was helping with, and I actually had access to this one machine called a Temesium. My friend was trying to sell it for half price, and he was willing to just like let me take it and pay him after I made some hash. So I was like, oh sweet, yeah, this is great. So we learned how to do some closed loop stuff on this shitty old machine. Got a better machine eventually. So yeah, I had a little hash making experience with that.
Very cool.
Then it became professional experience, coupled in with the recreational laws with the tags and like picking up trim from clients at dispensaries and then going and trying to sell it to those dispensaries. It was interesting in Colorado then, because every dispensary had their own grows. The grows that did not have their own extractions also needed to get their stuff processed, but every grow had a retail license too. So there would be situations where they would just we would process for them, and they would buy back every gram that we made from their stuff so they could sell their in-shop stuff at their store.
So it was still their stuff, but it had to have an intermediary step so that they could get to it.
Yeah.
But it saved them their own extraction material and crew.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't required that they have their own
but
extraction
you need
stuff.
Extracted product at this point.
Yeah, you do. We used 100% propane at that one.
Really?
We had two ETS machines, and I was so silly with that. I didn't, I was like, oh man, this propane has high pressure. I need to get it to flow. How do I get propane when it's in the tube to how do I get more propane in there when it's already at 60, 70 psi? Because it wasn't cold even then. I literally, I shouldn't admit this, but there was a period where I literally was pouring boiling water onto the propane tank to get it to flow and extracting at 160 psi with pure propane. God, that was so dumb. Wow. The machines could tolerate it. They were meant to be up to 300 psi, so it was safe, quote unquote. It wasn't really safe, but whatever. So it was interesting seeing what machines are capable of doing and learning kind of the difference between pressures of the different solvents, because butane is a way lower pressure than propane.
So propane, butane, what other extraction methods have you used?
That's really what I've done most of, for sure. I've dabbled with a little bit of rosin, maybe 4 years ago or whatever. It was just pressing flowers in a bag, though. It wasn't what they do now with the whole extreme bubble hash sifts, whatever, all of that. Haven't done that much. Haven't done any CO2 extraction myself at all.
So you prefer the butane then?
Honestly, yeah. I think it's the most effective, cost effective, and you get a lot of terps out of it later. I mean, I've had a lot of rosin that's really good, but it sells in the shops for $70-$80 a gram or whatever, and it's great, it's fantastic, but I can have a dab made in a closed loop system with butane propane blends that is also extremely dank and pay a third as much or whatever in the shop for it.
The terp profiles are delicious on
right
this, so
yeah, and it gives you more options for filtering. It gives you more options for temperature adjustments and stuff. I mean, it gives you a lot of diversity with what you can do with the end product after you extract it, whether you make it into diamonds, whether you do pen related stuff, just make slabs, batters, all of that.
Is there a reason you don't do CO2 or
honestly, so CO2 operates at an even higher pressure than all of those. You're operating in pressure ranges that are in the upper hundreds to low thousands with CO2, and so the machines that you need to do CO2 extractions are hella more expensive because they need to be able to handle those higher pressures. So a lot of it was just initial operating costs or whatever to get it started. I just haven't ever had access to that. So and honestly, I have not had very many CO2 extracts that I've been fuck yeah, that tastes so good. So, and I've also heard that, this also, when I looked at it was maybe 5 years ago, but the recovery times are slower too. It takes longer to do the processes. So just less efficiency and less, just haven't been interested.
And I've heard a little bit about maybe they pull some of the chlorophyll or the lipids with it as well, or something gets through.
Right. So a lot of times you would have to de-wax your CO2 extract, mix it with ethanol, and de-wax it, and then extract the ethanol afterwards, and end up with this distillate product, which. But there are some CO2 extractors out there, though, who are really good at isolating terpenes. There's
really,
having not done it, I don't know much about it, but there's some, apparently I think what pressures that you operate with can help dictate what comes out of the system later. So there have been a few CO2 extracts that are really good. Shouts to Natural Roots on that. They're one that I know have had some really good forbidden fruit cartridges from them. So I know it can happen, but it's way more common, it seems for CO2 to end up just making bulk distillate out of it because of the needing to de-wax it and mix it with ethanol later factor. So
So when we left off, you were in Colorado. You were you were extracting for a while. That was 2014.
Yeah,
then,
2013, 2014, that dispensary job there. So we ended up hiring someone there who had a different job at a different extraction company. They're called Mahatma. He was looking for a different job, and he came and helped us run our extractors. His name is Jim, and we ended up kind of becoming friends in our like smoking on breaks and stuff. And he decided he wanted to move to Portland and start his own extract company because he had the knowledge to run the systems and stuff himself. So I just happened to be kind of in the right place at the right time. It seemed like he saw my experience of what I was doing and apparently had faith in me for whatever reason, and was like, if you want to help me do start that company, like, I would love to have you on. And like, I took a night to kind of think about it and came back the next day and was like, are you serious about that? Because I might be down for that. And it was a really good opportunity to just kind of like start fresh and, you know, get away from some of the things that were burdensome at the time. And so I moved out to Portland in 2015 with Jim. We met up with one of his family friends, Andrew, and Andrew had his medical card and had been selling edibles to different dispensaries already, so he had a little bit of network through dispensaries already.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah, so he came on as like our salesperson. Jim was kind of our extract person, and then we had a few patients who we were growing for at the time. So I was like growing or whatever in a small grow. I helped sometimes with extracts at the start, but yeah, so we grew and turned everything into live resin in the medical days and sold it to different shops that way. And then as stuff changed into the rec world, we got a different facility and got our medical license expired at one point, and we had to shut down for a while because the whole process of getting the rec license involved like construction of a Class 1 Div 1 room, and like the red tapes with construction you're in Portland proper, right? We're in Portland proper, so they have like strict fire code requirements and stuff, so which is ultimately good. It means for a safer environment to do it in. Like, I could not feel any safer, I feel like, blasting than I do in our little room. Those rooms are literally meant for like making dynamite in and stuff. So we've got our little like LEL detector in the corner, and it goes off if it gets to 20% of the lower explosive limit. So when you hear the alarms go off, it's still like only at 20% of what it would take to make an explosion. So
gotcha. But it's enough to make you go check everything, make sure everything gets back in line.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay safe.
Yeah, exactly. So it's those requirements were cool, but yeah, so we were shut down for a little while in constructing our recreational environment, or whatever you'd say.
So when did you get back on the rec market?
Ooh, that would be June or July of 2018. So we've been operational for 2.5 years now. In the rec world, so we were in the early phases of it, I think. So it's been a good couple of years for sure. Yeah, it was fun having during the medical times in Oregon. We didn't have like metric and stuff that we had to worry about, but I had experience with metric in Colorado already from the dispensary jobs, so it was fun pulling back some of the knowledge I hadn't really used for a couple of years in Oregon with the metric stuff. I was like, oh, I know how to do this. Oh, yeah, I've already done this. Huh. Hell yeah, life. Thanks for giving me this knowledge that is also handy later. Cool.
I have to admit, having SQL database knowledge came in handy to learn metric really quick, and then that got me into a lot of my cannabis jobs since then. So
hell yeah. Yeah, it was fun meeting you. You were our testing guy, and would always come in, and I liked making you smell our jars.
Oh my god, your terpene profiles.
Not our terpene profiles anymore. When we went rec, we couldn't grow anymore unless we had a separate rec license, which you had to have at a separate address technically, which we didn't have. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So at any rate, now we only process for other folks. We technically have a grow next door to our lab that Andrew is a part owner of as well. So it's kind of almost in-house-ish, sort of.
Close as in-house as you get nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, other people's terpenes, not our terpenes.
So, how do you go about preserving those terpene profiles for your extracts?
Uh, cold is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean terpenes. I always think if you can smell something, it's evaporating.
Gotcha.
So like if you're huffing a jar, you got something open or whatever, that's literally the chemicals you're trying to preserve escaping out. Terpenes act kind of like solvents in that way. They're really like they're aromatic. They prefer to be a gas at room temperature.
Yeah.
So when you have it at a point where you've extracted whatever, when it all comes out at the end, you've got your cannabinoids and terpenes. You just have to treat it in a way that you're keeping that in mind, that terpenes are really volatile.
So speed, temperature, keeping things closed.
Yeah, I'm not going to get entirely specific with you, but I definitely just knowing that terpenes are volatile and acting accordingly to try to preserve them. So
and when you process live resin, so that's like you're cutting down the plant, they're being frozen right away, or do you and then you're processing the frozen material from there?
Yeah, typically. Back in the medical days, we definitely had some times where we would have patients or clients, I guess, bring their plants in their full pots before they even chop them down. Like just put them in garbage bags or whatever, throw them in the back of the car and bring them over, and then we would literally chop them live and put them right in the machine.
Wow.
Get them frozen in the machine and just blast them fresh. But now with the rec stuff and not having our own grow, we have to get it from point A to point B, which is metric tagging and blah blah blah. So you can't really bring full plants.
A lot more bureaucracy there.
Yeah. Fresh frozen though. Yeah, you freeze it and process it without having, because you lose terpenes when it cures or whatever, when it hangs to dry. So that's one thing that's people there's argument in the community from time to time about what the meaning of full spectrum extracts are.
Okay.
So when the separation of like cannabinoids and terpenes first started to become a thing a few years ago, where you had like the terpene juice over like kind of a crystalliness, first time that separation or whatever, one of the people who started to use that tech more was extractioneering, and they would always make the distinction that full spectrum is made from dried material because the terpene profile most closely resembles the dried flower form that the person is used to experiencing. When you process live resin, there's an abundance of monoterpenes that typically evaporate during that curing process. Gotcha. So there's more terpenes there, but it doesn't technically taste exactly the same as that dried product would. So
it's more like smelling the live plant versus smelling the cured plant.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a live resin is awesome, and there's definitely more flavor aspect because there's more terpenes there, but it is I have a preference, I guess, for the dried material as long as it's good, still fresh, but dried first.
Not 2-year-old product trying to get rid of just a process, which still has to get processed. But
hopefully. The market seems to be dictating that the stuff that doesn't make the cut anymore just ends up getting turned into crude for distillate. So
that's good, at least.
It does happen though. There's definitely a market for extremely cheap dabs that suck, but you won't find me buying those.
Thankfully.
You know what though? There is a good thing to do with those. If you're ever, I like to tell people, if you ever are trying to make edibles for yourself in a cheap and easy way, go buy the cheapest dabs you can find on the rec market, because they're going to be pesticide free, and you can take that oil and decarb it yourself and turn it into cooking oil. You just bake it. Literally take your dabs and put them in the oven at 200, 250 degrees, and they'll start to bubble, and the bubbles are really big. That's the CO2 escaping, that carboxylic acid, the THCA, or whatever about decarboxylation. I don't need to tell you. It's more for them,
but still, please, thank you. I always forget to ask for explanations sometimes if I hear something.
So if you just decarb your dabs, I do this with the old dabs that I don't get to because we get samples from work or whatever. If the terpenes have evaporated enough to where I don't really want to smoke it anymore, I'll just turn it into cooking oil. You just bake it until the bubbles stir it up a bit, and it'll keep bubbling. When the bubbles slow down and turn into only small bubbles, then you can pull it out and you've got decarboxylated oil. And if you bake it too much, well, you've just turned it into CBN, and it'll make you a little more sleepy. Still get you nice and toasty. But yes, you do that with a gram, that you buy, that's 1,000 milligrams of oil to start with. You bake it down, decarb it, it's that 0.877 or whatever. So you've got 877 milligrams of oil when it's done, and if that's at 60% THC, you've got I'm guessing 600 milligrams of THC or something like that in your $10 gram that you bought at a store, and that you could make plenty of edibles with that 600 milligrams. Way more than buying a $10 worth of edibles at a store.
I was gonna say, when you've got tolerances like you've been smoking for a while, you need some higher milligram edibles.
Indeed.
You did say that they still get you nice and toasty even with the CBN, and that reminded me that I have to ask, how did you get your nickname?
My last name is Troester, and it looks like it's spelled Troester. So like the teachers and stuff would, if they didn't know me, would say, Troester. It's commonly missaid. Troester, Toaster. I got it. I think it was in like church in middle school or something like that. Just
really?
Toast developed, and then I ended up growing into my name, becoming a pothead musician person. The name sticks.
I was gonna say, so it had nothing to do with cannabis, but it just totally fits the profile.
Yeah, not at the time. It did not. Yeah.
Awesome.
It works. I was meant to have this name, it seems. But yeah, I was. If I'm given the opportunity, I must give shouts to my heritage, the Troester family, because my name in the public doesn't really come out very often. Like all my social media stuff is Alex Toast, so I have people who think my real last name is Toast, but no, it's Troester. I am Alexander David Troester.
Well, you're still Toast. That's how I am. I'm sorry, but that's how I first had you finally. I meet so many people in the cannabis industry at the time that it was hard to keep names straight. Faces were always really easy for me, but yours came nice and natural because even your signature had a nice piece of toast, and I can always remember who you were. So
yeah. Well, thanks.
But Alex, thank you, Alexander Troester.
Troester, yeah.
Not Troester.
Nice.
Because that's how you became the toaster.
It's true.
All right. So I don't want to ask you like too many details, so please feel free. And
you're good. I'm part owner of the company, and I haven't technically signed an NDA or anything.
Yeah.
Like I listened to your episode with Chris. Is that his name?
Yeah.
And like we don't make our people sign NDAs. I'm just saying it might be pretty common, but you can find it if you look hard enough. You don't have to sell your soul all the way.
Well, absolutely. and that's the thing is, it's just, I understand that people want to keep things private.
Yeah,
but,
totally. I respect that too. I mean, I understand that view entirely. I've never really been like money centered in my views. I'm more of like an open source sort of a guy.
Yeah.
So
there's enough to go around already. We just don't know how to distribute it properly.
Yeah, agreed. Totally.
But all right. So what I was getting to on that, and please feel free to enjoy that hit. Do you spend a lot of time on like R&D to approach it like on a strain to strain basis, or is it all just kind of like standard procedures as far as soak times, dewax times, things like that, or do you get to play around much personal? There
is definitely like it's not standard. There's so many nuances to how you could do it if you wanted to do it, and there's like kind of a set way that we try to do it mostly every time. But you have to always be playing with stuff to figure out the new techs, because you see like pictures on the internet of someone figured something out, and they're like, oh wow, okay, how you have to like then put together the clues from what you already know to try to decipher how they might have created that product. And
like
so
when diamonds started getting big.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh hey, so pressure is a factor. There's like evaporation is a factor. How does what are the controllable things? And then I was fortunate. I went to school for chemistry for 2 years before I dropped out, so I kind of have like a little bit of a
enough.
Yeah, exactly. Just enough to do weed stuff at least a little bit. But I do feel like the folks who have their degrees and stuff have the edge, but it's more rare to find someone who've completed all of the schoolings all the way and also be thoroughly into ganja. It exists, but it's rare.
The ones that are getting me all a little weirded out are what is it? They're growing cannabinoids in yeast now.
Oh, I heard about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it. It's just wow. Okay, so they've got like a 1 week turnaround time, and so from.
Can you make a bunch? I haven't looked into it much. I just remember hearing that was a.
They haven't. They have started doing test batches. Basically, they end up with like 150 grams of product at the end, and that's a 1 week run. 150 grams. Now it's about scaling up and getting the yeast and all these things.
Is it only cannabinoids though? Like no terpenes and stuff?
It's just that is just a straight cannabinoid one. Now I think that they can be programmed to make terpenes. Or they can be programmed technically to make anything. But I think they're making it's basically just doing straight extracts. But it's like THC. But you can get THCV, you can get CBG, you can get all the minor cannabinoids that they're just THCP, which we're just finding out about,
Tell me about it. Yep.
Oh, THCP is apparently 30 times as potent as THC.
What?
Yeah.
Where does it come from? I mean, is it in weed?
Yeah, it's a minor cannabinoid in apparently some random strains, and they've started finding it, and they've started testing it by itself, and it's just like some insanely potent, molecule.
You don't happen to know which strains off the top of your head, do you?
I haven't done enough research.
That's fair. That's I love that type of shit.
Yeah,
find it, breed it, make more of it.
Exactly. I still want to try some of the THCV stuff.
Sure.
I hear that I tend to like sativas because I can continue working. As long as I don't smoke enough that I start losing my train of thought or my words as they come out.
Your brain starts to go faster than your actions.
Exactly. But the THCV, I also hear, I have a problem with holiday munchies sometimes, and so it's nice to have that. You get the active high without the munchy after effect, apparently.
Yeah, right. So that would be nice.
Let's see. We'll try it out one of these days.
I'm interested in. I'm trying to remember which one it is. I feel like it might be like the transfarnesene. I definitely could be wrong. There is one terpene that I remember seeing that it acts as like a natural insecticide.
Okay.
So
I don't remember that.
You hear about different strains having different susceptibilities to the pests and stuff. It's
some are a lot more mold resistant.
Yeah, right.
Like that.
So it'd be interesting to try to make that be something that's more abundant in the different genes of the weeds.
Well,
we're rambling. I'm sorry. Yeah,
no,
we're going all
please.
over the place.
No, I like it. That's what smoking's all about.
Hey, would you like any of this?
You know what? Sure. I will go ahead and join you on a dab.
I wasn't sure if you would.
That means you're going to have to regale us with a story for a minute.
Ooh, a story. So where are we going from here? What's
there's still a little bit more cannabis stuff, but I am going to eventually ask you about some music and stuff as well, if you want to give us a little preview.
In 2010, I went to a conference in Rhode Island put on by the Patients Out of Time, which every 2 years they put on a seminar where nurses and doctors can go and get continuing education credits, because it's literally like an educationally based, they get researchers of cannabis from all around the world to come in and present their current research about weed. So it's nice. Like lectures for 2 days straight, and networking events and stuff. So I went to one of those in 2010, flew out there. This was in my activism days in Wisconsin or whatever, Minnesota zone, before I went to Colorado. And the keynote speaker at that was Raphael Meshulam, who was the one who discovered the endocannabinoid system in Israel. And I rode up the elevator with him next to him once. I pissed next to him one time that weekend. I never talked to him, but I did those things. That was kind of neat.
That's that's really cool. I wish you had talked to him, but
So the thing is, though, I did talk to some people there, and amongst them were some people from Colorado who were putting out a magazine at the time called Cannabis Health News Magazine. And they gave me one of their magazine things to take home, and I looked at it. There was an article in it about the endocannabinoid system, and it laid it out really nicely in a few paragraphs. And I looked at it and I was like, I want to write an educational song about the endocannabinoid system. So in 2010, I wrote the Endocannabinoid Song, which is like kind of like a kooky ass educational nerd song about the endocannabinoid system.
That's cool.
So,
kind of. In my head, all of a sudden, I pictured They Might Be Giants. I'm gonna have to look it up though.
You know what's funny is that you are the second person ever to say that to me. But another time, I was on a radio show at that time when I first wrote the song, and someone said They Might Be Giants or whatever with a bodysuit or something.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, you brought it. That's funny that you would say that. Cause
awesome. Synchronicities, man.
Synchros, man. It must be real.
All right, so thank you for that.
You can find that on all the streaming platforms. Alex Toast, Endocannabinoid Song.
Yes, please. I will post that some links to that as well.
Dope.
All right, let's see. Where was I?
So we got, if we're going to the weed story, for me, we just got our rec license 2.5 years ago. But,
okay.
But I guess that really brings us up to speed. We've just been, cranking out the hash for clients, so...
Do you have a favorite kind of product to make?
Honestly, I prefer the whipped batters the most.
Really?
I guess it depends on what I'm considering as the coolest aspect, though, because I like to smoke the batters the most because it's the most consistent.
I was going to make a differential in those too. So yeah, please.
The batters would be just an even homogeneous blend of the terpene profile and cannabinoids. And it's not with diamonds, you've got diamonds and juice or sauciness, whatever that goes with the diamonds, that's your flavor. And so you kind of end up with different ratios of the flavoring cannabinoids. The big diamond or crystal kind of has a chalky sort of a taste after you dab it versus a batter kind of is a little bit more smooth, it feels like to me. Technically, you have more surface area to hold terpenes in batter, whereas with diamonds you've got a solid rock of THCA where no terpenes can touch on the inside of it, whereas with the batter it's that whole area that would be the diamond is terpenes and THCA. So I like to smoke that, but it's also, I think it's the coolest thing. I don't know if I have crystals around and shit. I'm one of those hippie weirdo nerds with that, with grids and stuff, and in the video game level up wizard style shit, in my life, the fact that I can take one of my favorite things, weed, and turn it into another one of my favorite things, diamonds, crystals, is really awesome.
That's fucking alchemical right there, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking cool shit. I'm like a fucking witch.
You're right. Diamonds are very pretty, and I have to admit, out of all of the places that I used to go to and test, you have had some of the largest, most insanely beautiful ones I've ever seen before you had to break some of them up. I really love looking at them.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't like smoking them that much, though.
Yeah.
It's just that straight THC high. It doesn't do that much for me. I'm such a big fan of the terpene profiles and getting the terpene education out there. So
one thing that I do really like is... a pen, a vapor pen, that has most of the cannabinoids removed and is just the terp juice.
Really?
That shit is so good. Then you just get the raw flavor and you don't really get that high from it. You get a little fucked up, but it's I feel like it's more the terpenes effect on you than it is the...
I should have brought you one of our pens for coming out here too.
I've been curious to try them for sure.
Before you get out of here, one of these days I gotta drop one off.
Sweet.
Yeah, because it's just CBD, but the only thing I cut it with is terpenes, just straight terpenes.
Sure.
So
are they cannabis derived terpenes, or are they the from any food source sort of terpenes?
They are No, I have to admit, I cannot get a individual isolated terpene from a cannabis source. I can get strain specific everywhere I go.
Sure.
But nobody seems to get them in enough quantities to break them down into individual. And what I'm doing is I'm formulating the terpene profile to do specific things for your body, I guess.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why I've been working with that. I wish that I could do straight cannabis derived. That is the goal someday, maybe my own grow even cannabis derived terpenes, but that's a little bit later down the project.
So I have some connections back in my home world where I'll be moving here in a few months, and they're hemp field related ones, and hemp and extract. I'm probably going to be, at least until the laws change rec wise, I'll be finding myself working in the
hemp field,
the hemp zones, and
right.
I kind of have this thought about maybe trying to get my hands on a really large closed loop extractor that can handle 40, 100 pounds or whatever, because they exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And blast hemp out there as with butane and propane rather than ethanol like everybody's doing. And
because I know one in Madras it can handle that way, but it's all doing ethanol.
Yeah. So if I could get it to that point, and I know that there's good hemp strains out there that have terpene profiles that are worthy.
Yeah.
So
they smell just like they smell just like the rest of the cannabis. They're just coming back at 0% THC.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's cannabis too. It's just a different cannabinoid profile. So at any rate, someday maybe I'll be able to supply you with those terpenes. That's what I'm saying.
I love that.
Yeah,
please keep me in mind.
Yeah,
because
dude.
that is my long-term goal.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I believe in cannabis-derived products. I really want to do. In the end, I want to have my own grow, have vertical integration in my vape cartridge business, as well as doing something on the rec market at some point.
Good.
So that's all the big dream later down the line. Hopefully,
you got to have a vision though. It starts with a thought. So if you can, I've definitely found, and I'm not the only one. If you know what you want, it comes to you more because you're thinking it, but it's also because you direct your actions and stuff in the meantime towards it, even subconsciously. If you're clear about what you want, and the less clear you are about what you want, kind of the more floats up in the air. But if you're fucking sure, it happens. It's cool.
I like that. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So, your favorite product to smoke is batter.
Yes.
Explained why.
Well, I also smoke flower. I probably smoke almost as much flower as
really?
I probably smoke more flower, honestly, just because of convenience. I mean, if I'm, out on my break or something like that, it's a lot more work to. Because I'm particular about how I dab, which we should talk about that. I think.
Yeah, please.
But we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it's just way easier to, have a bong in the car and load it with flour and take a little break real quick or whatever, versus the whole get up of the super setup.
I've got a friend who actually borrowed my car converter so he can plug it into a cigarette lighter. He plugs in his email and just dabs straight from there on work breaks instead. So
that makes total sense.
Hey, more power to him.
Yeah. So I definitely, though, I'm a big proponent or a big supporter of lower temperature dabs. Yes. I think a lot of people are scared to dab because they had that one experience where someone at a party sometime gave them a dab or whatever, and so now they just think, dabs get me so high, no, it's too much. But
and that high temperature also it hits your throat harder. And it's just everything about it is the wrong experience the first time.
Sort of. Now, I will say, if you are sick and need to get more cannabis into you, there's a place for hot dabs, but it's like cancer patients and stuff, people who really need to just saturate their blood with whatever.
They need to be they need to be THC.
Yeah, exactly. But the dabbing experience, to me, is about that flavor, like we were talking about, the terpenes for sure, and you definitely do not get the same terpene experience, flavor to the mouth experience with hot dabs as you do with low temperature dabs. So what we've got here is just a typical in-cycler, like a leisure in-cycler setup with a Joel Halen banger with some terp pearls in it. Which
was my first time actually using terp pearls, by the way.
Very nice. That's cool. Terp pearls are really cool. They help hold that ideal temperature for longer, like I said.
It makes so much more sense because normally you got to time it so quick after you heat that thing up.
Yeah, exactly. It's so I used to do it like a timer. I would heat it up to where it was red hot, and then start my timer when the red glow went away.
That's what I'm used to.
And it works. That was cool, but it's inconsistent with your environment. If you do it outside, it cools down more, blah blah blah. So now the cool thing, all the cool kids go and buy a temperature gun, one of the infrared temperature things that you use in the kitchen. It's fun. So now I definitely know that I like to take my dabs at like 580 to 600, which is definitely on the lower side of compared to some people. You'll get a little less high with that, but it's like
the flavor profile.
The flavor. Oh god! If you can take a smell, it's you're converting it from one sense to another sense, and if you can experience something with multiple senses, you're more connected to it. It's more of it's more of an experience. So if you can take that smell and turn it into like oh, the taste is all over, or the smell is now a taste all over my mouth. The smell is all over my mouth. I like
it's
to
like
say.
the flower experience of dabs.
Yeah, exactly.
And you still, flower. You still taste the plant. You get that smell before it. It's in your fingers as you're packing the bowl. You get that terpene profiles all out there.
Yeah,
it's almost a ritual.
Right.
And the same thing now with the dabs. You can tailor it that way. You find the right temperature for you, the right terpene profile. Do you have a favorite terpene profile?
Like favorite strain, or like
strain, or just kind of.
I couldn't tell you like specifically like what ratio of terpenes is good for me.
Oh, no.
I definitely like
the
to
gases.
say.
I know a lot of people are big fans of the gases.
I am a big fan of the gases. I also really like the oranges. I'm a sucker for like the Tropicana stuff, or Tangy, whatever, any of those sorts of things. And
the sour Tangies are delicious.
Sour Tangies are definitely delicious. I definitely prefer a little bit of myrcene in it. I know.
Okay.
I know we were talking about like I'm more of an indica person overall, just because I like my brain to slow down a little bit, and it's so that's said or whatever that myrcene tends to be in more of the indica type of products or whatever. So
it's the most prevalent terpene overall in cannabis, if I remember.
Oh,
as well.
Sure, that would make sense.
Yeah,
and obviously it's in mangoes and hops too.
Yes.
So if you're trying to get extra stony kids, have some mangoes, have some hops, and
I keep hearing about that, and was with edibles as well. Not eating beforehand, because you want the effect. You want to be able to feel the effect, and it's going to take 45 minutes anyway. And some of the fast-acting edibles, I don't know, they seem to hit fast, but they also go away really quickly. I don't know if that's the case either. But they say eating a meal afterwards, the fats in the meal help it process with your body. So
interesting.
It makes it a longer experience.
That makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that before. But go on.
Well, go on. You were the one going on.
Oh, no. I thought you were. What about your terpene profiles?
Oh, the terpene. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard. I get exposed to a lot of different strains with different blends and stuff. I really like. There's a strain right now called Robots from Sugar Bud. That it's got. I
think I've had some of your Robots batter or something. Robots cross batter.
Yeah, we've mixed Robots with other stuff a lot just because we don't get a whole quantity of it. And actually, we have some pure Robots diamonds that are in formation right now that I'm really excited about. But it's like the lineage on it is a lemon related lineage, but the smell and taste on it is almost this like dark orange, like Agent Orange, almost orange. But orange isn't in its like crosses and stuff. So I really like that pheno of I don't know much about it other than it's supposed to be lemony, but it's orangey and it's really dank and unique to me. It's always interesting when it's like, oh yeah, this smells dank, sure, but it's like it smells like a skunk gas sort of strain, just like this other skunk gas strain.
Exactly.
When you find a terpene profile that's unique and special, it's like, oh, I haven't smelled this smell before. It's like seeing a color you haven't seen before. It's like smelling the smell you haven't smelled before.
That's like the blueberry muffin you guys ran last year. I'm sorry, we were just talking about that earlier, but oh my god, that was like 40-some%. The smell, as soon as you opened the jar, I wanted to close it again so it didn't escape.
That stuff was fantastic. We have some diamonds that are actually, I'm going to be pulling them. Is it Sunday today? I'm going to be pulling them out this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, mining them, and so there's one grower, Laird Farms, who we work with or at least last year we worked with them. We worked with them again this year, so we've got another round of muffin coming at you, man.
Very cool.
Yeah, it should be really good. So, yeah, the muffin is great. So my roommate, Morgan, he is really into this local brewery called Great Notion, or he used to be more than he is now, but they have this beer there called Blueberry Muffin. And my roommate led me on to the tip of you have a blueberry muffin dab, and you inhale the dab, hold it in, and have a sip of this blueberry muffin beer, and then you exhale it, and it is like the most insane blueberry amazing flavor you've ever had. It's so good. It's like combining local Portland blueberry goodnesses and just turning it into a mouth and brain sensation that is beyond compare.
I'll have to get the down low from you when that's going to hit the store shelves.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. I mean, we're mining them next week, so then we purge, and then we submit for test. It'll probably be available, and then we get boxes printed. It's probably a few weeks away, but
so probably
within
beginning
the next
of
month.
February or so.
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
Yes, yeah.
Nummy
you heard it here
muffins.
first.
Woo!
All right. Well, cannabis, big passion. I know that for both of us. But I also want to touch on your music.
Yeah. Please. Okay. So I've been in music stuff since I was a little kid. Like I was in a local boy choir from like 9 years old on, and had a lot of great singing experiences. Picked up the guitar at like 13 or 14. My dad hooked me up with some lessons from people he knew, and I didn't practice very much, but I started to be in bands and stuff through high school, and I've just kind of always been playing acoustic guitar and singing on the side of whatever else I've been doing kind of my whole life. So music's been there longer than cannabis even.
Very cool.
So I've been in different bands and whatnot. Now currently I play acoustic guitar and participate in different rap projects, singing hooks and occasionally rapping, and I'm becoming more involved in the acoustic finger style scene with like the smacking the guitars and doing weird tappies.
I heard a little bit of that
stuff.
earlier.
Yeah, it's fun. It's
amazing is what it is.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's been a wild ride.
How'd you get involved with the that new style?
A couple years ago, one of my good friends it's fucking hilarious. His name is Dennis Dabbs, Dabbs. So
is he in the cannabis industry?
No, he's not. He
was born for it,
right? So. The only time he ever dabs is if it's with me, because he trusts that I'm going to give him that like nice taste and not too high experience. And so yeah, at any rate, I met him at an open mic in town here in Portland, and he was like, we were both into kind of like the tappy math rock music in the first place, and he's like, have you ever like tried it? Because you could, like, because you're already playing chords, just try to like tap with your other hand on the strings. And he just kind of encouraged that, and I just started playing with that, and started watching more videos and going to more shows of artists that I know were doing that. And I've realized I've been exposed to that kind of music kind of my whole life through my dad without even like realizing it. He was into those sorts of musicians.
Oh, very cool.
He owned like a stained glass shop and would always have like Pat Metheny, Medeski Martin and Wood, and Michael Hedges, and like some good trippy good musical influences playing.
Yeah, right.
So I started doing that and just playing out at open mics more, and met a couple other finger style artists in town, Amber Russell and like CJ Howley, and Amber in particular encouraged more of that and was like, yeah, you just gotta like know that you're a part of the fingerstyle community, and it's like a whole community of musicians. And so like she kind of like introduced me to that, and encouraged me to go to this camp a year ago in Arkansas, where I spent, it was a 6-day camp put on by like two amazing record labels, Candy Rat and Fret Monkey, and they have like some of the best.
Before COVID.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was in September of 2019, a year ago. It was great. 3 days of concerts by some of like the best like fingerstyle performers that are out there right now, and then 3 days of workshops that all those performers put on. So I was immersed with them for 6 days, like living with them in this beautiful camp that was like up on this cliff in Arkansas, the Jean Petit National Forest or something like that. Oh, it's so beautiful and awesome. So
Sounds amazing.
I got a like one-on-one half-hour lesson with Khaki King. She like broke my soul, but it was good because I needed that because I definitely suck compared to. Oh yeah.
It's good to know you suck as you're progressing. You
yeah,
know?
exactly. One of my good friends in college always he would harp on me that if you play with people who are better than you, it might be hard for you, but that's how you get better.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
you don't want to be the worst.
Exactly. So I've since learned to start practicing with a metronome more, which I've noticed is actually incredibly helpful. I used to be like, oh, freeform time is more soul-like or whatever, which is partly true for sure, but it
has its place.
Yeah, it does, but it's, if you're trying to actually capture your ideas in like recording form and stuff, it's production-wise and stuff, it makes it a lot easier if you can have it set to a metronome click track to start it and whatever, but still the trick is doing that, but still being able to like let go and feel it too, because a lot of time
free enough to still feel.
Yeah, exactly. So cannabis helps me with that. I like it. I definitely get ripped and let go. So I'll have to play you I'll have to actually play for you before you go.
Yes,
and
please.
Show you, because it's a.
Hey, maybe you want to play a song for the end of this, actually.
Yeah, I would love to.
On to the end, too.
If you want, that would be amazing.
We'll do that at the end.
Fuck yeah. Thanks, man.
So, yeah, listen after all of this. Listen to Toast play one
I will perform a song for you. It'll be special, maybe.
I love it. All right.
Yeah. Let's see. Music is cool. I love music because it brings it used to, at least before COVID, bring people together and it forces
one of the things
them,
I miss the most.
There's big power in unified thought, and when you can get a large group of people to literally vibrate at the same resonance together, like speakers, the bass thumping is like you're syncing up in a way that's magical and healing. That's like somehow it's magic.
Well, when you combine it, and I'm not encouraging all of this or anything, but with some good cannabis or minor psychedelics, and you're out there, that's the reason people love those jam bands or, even the EDM stuff, you're all on that same wavelength. You're experiencing that same energy at that same time. It's
a shared experience, and
absolutely.
It focuses your thoughts in some strange way together as a community.
And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but like even Joe Rogan has said, like with comedy, it's like he's taking over the crowd for like a couple hours. He's getting them to think. He's getting to be their brain for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and make them laugh and stumble over that stuff. It's that same wavelength thing.
Yeah,
definitely miss that.
Me too. It's wild. So in that regard, I like to also think of like. Or not like to, but I often think of, I know I mentioned, like, I got my nickname in church way back in the day.
Yeah.
There's that weird cultish sort of feel with like everyone mass toning together, singing hymns and stuff with the low pipe organs. I think there's that mystical healing stuff in there that's, like, weird.
Vibrations actually, weird. They affect things, you know? They really do.
They bring in spirits from the other dimensions that people see in the shamanistic psychedelic adventures.
I would love to see more of them.
The questions of our age.
Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
No, you got me just thinking all of a sudden. One of the ones I still want to do. Do you know who Terrence or Dennis McKenna are?
Oh yeah, man.
Of
course. I saw Dennis speak at the Portland psychedelic thing a couple years ago. He was one of their keynote speakers, and then I'm way into Terrence too, bud.
All right, well you know it's what I'm talking about. But Dennis offers an ayahuasca trip.
He does.
You have to get on the wait list. You have to kind of go through all these little things through there, and it's only a few times a year. But it's like a 7-day retreat where you it's like 3 of those days are ayahuasca days. You're you're putting yourself through the ringer. But that is one of the things that if I was ever going to do it, that'd be the person to do it with.
That would definitely be an interesting ride.
Right?
It's wild how much more common that sort of adventure is becoming, too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really surprised at the number of people I know who are like to involve themselves with those sorts of things. It's way more prevalent in our society than like, I guess the media or whatever puts out there. Or
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what.
It's
whatever. It's you got to be quiet about it though. It's like
it is. Even in Oregon.
Right. True.
Yeah. So
I think though there's definitely something to be said for people feeling comfortable enough in their environment to be open about who they are though. Like if that's something that you're into and want to do, it's really detrimental to have to hide it.
Absolutely.
It hurts it hurts the individual, it hurts the cause itself. That's why Oregon is so awesome, like with the recent elections and stuff.
Yeah,
with the
decriminalization.
Yeah, so it's gonna. I remember when it happened with weed. It opens so many more doors for people to feel comfortable being themselves entirely and embody their true essence, like knowing that they don't have to like hide the fact that they did 4 grams of mushrooms one time and it completely changed their life for the better. It like helped them with their shit or whatever. Oh yeah, I can tell my parents that now, and it's okay. We can all talk about it and not feel shame.
And I want to touch a little bit on that because people were giving Oregon a little bit of shit for the decriminalization. Some were like talking it up, others saying we're just a bunch of stoners, that kind of shit. But it was more. All of a sudden, we're just not going to put these people in prison for doing something. That's basically what it boiled down to. It's not. We're not promoting it. We're not selling it on the store shelves. We're just.
It's not legal technically. You're still going to get a ticket.
We still have drug avoidance programs. You'll have options where you can go do some of these other things. It's just we're not going to fill our prison cells with people doing recreational drugs that aren't hurting somebody else.
Right. It's
harmful
to other people when that's bad. But
exactly.
Yes.
So and with the psilocybin, the additional bill that passed for that's all with the medicinal side. So it's all with therapy, and it's all setting is very important. Right. So this is not just like a recreational thing they're talking about. They're actually talking about a treatment phase and starting to do some of the research. I'm really excited to see what happens with that in the next few years.
Same, definitely. It's going to open a lot of doors.
Would you get involved if you were staying out this way?
I'm definitely interested in making psilocybin isolates. I want to make a little psilocybin diamond someday. That would be really cool. Yeah. So I definitely see myself potentially. Maybe I would. Yeah. If I had time.
Yeah. You have a few more projects.
There's some things, but
the passion project is definitely music at this point.
Yeah, and I'm going to be moving away here in a few months to be back with my folks, and in that I'm guessing I'll have a little bit more time when I'm back there for that sort of thing. So
we're going to hate having you gone, but good cause and all.
Now I will say I will be back, of course, because if we're ever allowed to again, I was at a point where I was hoping to have gone on my first musical tour for a couple months this last fall. So, but that didn't happen with the COVID shit. So I will try to make that happen and come back at some point. So that'll be good. That'll be fun.
Please let me know when you do.
Hell yeah.
Any other passions or things you like to geek out about?
Geek out about.
I know how passionate you are about music. I see it everywhere.
Yeah. Let's see, music and weed, and it's not really a passion, but I think I'm kind of interested a little bit in hobo spiders.
Hobo spiders. Okay, tell me about this.
So I live in this house here, and definitely had some spider problems for a while the first couple of years.
Gotta love Portland.
Oh yeah, and so they're big and scary looking. They've got long legs, and they're kind of powerful, and they're fast. They don't really like confrontation, so they'll try to run away from you. But every once in a while, if you leave some pants on the floor or something like that, you put them on and they're in your pants, they're gonna whatever. That's not good. So
yeah, no bueno.
One of my old roommates, got bit by one. My friend Dennis Dabbs got bit by one. I ended up getting bit by one. So I I was scared of spiders, and I think it's important to try to at least look at your fears in this
Absolutely.
life. Otherwise, they're just going to linger on for eternity, whatever. So try to get over them when you have the opportunity.
Confront your fears.
So when I see a big hobo spider running now, rather than I've fought the initial instinct to crush, and now instead I will grab a jar, like a big mason jar, and try to catch it. And it almost feels like a little video game sequence, when like a battle sequence in it, and you're
going up against the boss, man.
Yeah, right. And if you fuck up, you're gonna get bit, and that's gonna suck. So at any rate, what's interesting though, in capturing these hobo spiders and getting over this fear, I've like learned a little bit more about them, and like there is apparently a ton of there are a ton of novel compounds in spider venom that are still unexplored.
Really?
Yeah, there are apparently only 3 compounds have even been like identified so far in the hobo spider in particular. But what's interesting is this: most of the venoms in spiders have this one type of molecule that it shows promise for anesthesia potential. And
like paralyzing their victim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's interesting about the hobo spider in particular is that this particular chemical, I don't remember what it's called. This is where I'm not like super nerd, but it's interesting that this chemical in most venomous spiders, the body breaks it down really quickly.
Okay.
So what's interesting about the hobo spider is that that compound is somehow structured in a way that is protective unto itself, so that it lasts longer in the body. So we have all these hobo spiders running around everywhere, and it just led me to learn that spider venom is a very under-researched and promising field.
That's interesting. I don't know why it made me think of it, probably because I just talked about ayahuasca, but it's like DMT,
right, yeah, because it breaks down really fast. That's what made you think of it, because
you need the MAOI MAO inhibitor to actually let that be orally active. Otherwise,
that's what ayahuasca is, dude.
There you go.
Whoa, you knew that. Yeah, chemicals are fun. It's interesting.
Well, that's why they say like the chemical compound for psilocybin is so close. I think it's off by like one little molecule or something from DMT, so it's like orally active DMT, just at a much smaller dose, kind of a thing.
Interesting. Yeah. It's wild.
Well, I appreciate your time here. I know we're getting a little bit long.
Dude, sorry.
No,
we're long-winded.
I don't want to stay as long as you want to. I just don't. I did want to get to the moment of vulnerability segment here, in case I don't get in for you again.
Oh my god.
I know, right? Well, what motivates you in life?
What motivates me in life? The time factor. There's only so much time, and there's things that can be done. That what motivates me is encouraging other people to be themselves as much as they can be, and I think that the best way to do that is to lead by example. And
Absolutely.
I really feel like I've been really fortunate to be able to like find my essence in like cannabis and music, and so if I can do things that help that cause or whatever in a way that is uplifting and maybe inspire other people, I don't know, it's good to create, I guess, things, because I don't know how to answer that exactly. I don't know what inspires me or motivates me.
It seems like you have things you want to get done, but you like to inspire people as well, to have that confidence to be themselves. Like you've gotten that confidence over these last few years.
It feels like I do, at least. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
I totally see that in you, and I see it in your interactions with people. Even the first few times I came over to Beehive with the testing lab, you guys had no clue who I was, but you know what? You welcomed me right there. We had some great conversations. We talked about some terpenes, and now I've known you for fucking 2.5 years.
Weird, crazy. Well, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see so many people like hurting and stuff because of their situations, and I mean, there's obviously reasons to hurt, but if I don't know, if we're just all here for each other all the time, then like it's easier.
Do unto others. You help people, they help you.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there anything that scares you in life?
Ooh, well, it used to be spiders, so we're over that one. That's good. Heights is a big one for sure. I'm still like in the minor categories of basic fears. Yeah. I think I'm kind of in the whole. It's definitely like maybe it's not healthy, but I definitely have the mindset of wanting to like leave like a lingering sort of remnants of my vibration that exists longer than my physical body does.
You want to make a difference.
Well, sure. Or just
necessarily. Go ahead.
Art. I'm thinking more like art. I guess for me with music, it's big. Like recordings are probably going to last on a hard drive long, unless the sun wipes them out or something like that. But things like immortality creating type of things. Like it's like the two death sort of view where you die your first death in your body physically, but you die your second death when there's no longer like an essence of your memory remaining, when no one ever talks about you or thinks about you ever again. And so you can get people to think and talk about you longer if you leave traces of your art and shit like that behind.
There's an interesting topic. I'm going to go ahead and take a tangent here off that I like. So
this is going to be a two-parter, dude.
I know, right? So I personally have had similar thoughts about that. I've always wanted to create something. For me, it was screenwriting is what my degree's in. So okay. I wanted to write something. I like telling stories, things like that. Now with the podcast, I'm realizing that I'm getting to talk to all of these interesting people that normally wouldn't necessarily have their stories heard elsewhere, but sure. They get to leave an actual little record that it's going out there, it's getting out on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
And no offense, but we're starting to think about it. Anything that's out there on the internet right now, all those early AI stuff, that's all being trained off of everything that's out there.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about that. So that's going into that whole
it's just mechanism. Sitting there, all YouTube, it's just sitting there just absorbing all of YouTube. It's absorbing all of Spotify, all of these things that it's going to be start listening to and like identifying. And of course, things are going to be weighted, what's popular, what's not, things like that. But anything that people are actually uploading right now, we could actually technically be seeding that first and artificial life that's going to go on forever.
That's a really interesting thought. Yeah, so get some inputs into that right now while you can before it's too late, everybody.
Yeah, get your voice heard, right?
Yeah, do it. That's a really interesting perspective.
So, all right, how about a game-changing moment in your life?
Oh man, it was totally the moment that my family friend called me and said he'd buy my plane ticket and pay for everything to go to this fingerstyle camp I mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a game changer for sure. Like I had made a joking post about it on Facebook when I first heard about the whole festival thing, because I knew it was a distant dream that I didn't plan on ever going. I was like, oh man, this looks really cool. And this family friend happened to see that post however many months earlier, and just he remembered it. And then I posted about it again like a week beforehand. It was like, hey, if anyone maybe wants to sponsor me going on this trip, I'll put your face on my album cover or something like that someday. And so they saw that too. And so then anyway, I was on my way home from work one night and got a phone call, and he was like, yeah, I'll, if you're serious about going and you want to go and you think you can make it happen with your stuff, I'll like make the money part happen for you. And I was like, what? Holy shit. And I looked to my left, and the license plates on the car, because I was on 205, so I was in the center lane. The car to the left had an 888 license plate, and the car in the center was like 88, I think 0. So there were like 5 8s in a row right when I heard this, and it was great.
8 is one of my big lucky numbers, so yeah. Off recording, I'll tell you why, but yeah.
Ooh, I get the gossip.
Well,
It's infinity symbols, man.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, man. All right, well, I've really enjoyed our conversation. I'm going to get set up so that we can record you playing a song real quick.
Dope.
Is there... all right, so one last question for you before I go. I just wanted to see if you had any last words or shout-outs, personal messages you wanted to get out there.
I love you, Mom and Dad.
I love it.
And props to all of the homies who I have met over the years, because I am surrounded by so many people who are fucking brilliant, and they are so good at what they do. And you're all inspiring as fuck. I'm not even any particular names. If you're listening to this, you've probably affected my reality in a really awesome way, and just, oh my god, keep being fucking awesome. I
love it. Thank you for being here, Toast.
Thanks for coming, dude. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I had a great time talking with Toast, and I hope to have him back on again. I want to thank him and remind you to stay tuned if you'd like to hear an exclusive acoustic version of one of his new songs. Last but not least, a special thanks to all of our listeners. You are the reason I'm doing this. Please tell your friends about us and follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, or wherever else you're listening. And don't forget, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I know every podcast says that, but it really does help with visibility. You can also help support us on Patreon or connect with us on the social media of your choice. We are at Awakened Exchanges on Facebook and Instagram, and at Awaken Exchanges on Twitter. Thanks again, and have a blessed day.
Serenade.
Oh, yeah.
In the smoke.
I was going to say, it's a nice haze in here.
Right? Yes, it's probably not humming too loud. We had the fucking dryer going. I guess if the dryer is fine, then that's fine.
You could hear the dryer, but
is it erasable? We untraceable anymore? Is it arrangeable? I'm not unfazable anymore. It out, waste it all. Waste your mind again, regret it all. over just what you wanted to say.
Woo!
Yeah! Haha, thanks, man.
Thank you.